Hello, Sci 195 students. Today we're going to be talking to you about multitasking. My name is Jessica Khoury.
I'm Austin Caudill.
Thomas.
And I'm Hopkins. Multitasking is an activity that I believe that all of us immerse ourselves in our day of age with technology. And in this presentation, we'll be explaining to you why multitasking is not in your best interest. There are a few different reasons, which we will give examples through studies for why multitasking is not good. It does not allow you to respond efficiently to new stimuli. Activities are competing for limited attentional resources. So you won't be able to fully focus your attention on one task if you're focused on multiple tasks. And you will be susceptible to additional distractions if you open yourself up to even one more distraction. And performance and memorization are both affected negatively by the multitasking. Media multitasking in one study has been found to be associated with poor school performance. In this study, adolescents in the city of Boston were evaluated every week for 1 year for how much or how often they media multitask during the week. And media multitasking, according to this study, is engaging in media or electronic activities such as watching TV or being on your phone, as well as studying or completing homework. And what they used was a scale for media multitasking. And 0 on the scale was there was no media multitasking during studies or completing of homework. And 8 is every time that you studied or completed homework, you were engaging in media multitasking. And what was found was that data of test scores and homework averages were negatively correlated with multitasking frequency, media multitasking frequency. And this graph shows you, as you can see on the left, 0 on the x-axis is no media multitasking, and test scores are shown to be higher. And as you go across towards 8, you see a drop off on both test scores, the math and English tests. Multitasking that requires similar processing was found to make reaction time worse. And this was evaluated by using undergraduate students at the University of York. And what they found was that working memory was a good way to evaluate the effects of multitasking. And working memory is when you are actively thinking through doing the task, and it requires you every time you do one part of the task to be aware of something or make a decision. And in this experiment, there were 2 basic tasks that used working memory, and one was the principal task. And the principal task was simply entering keys as they came on the screen. So there were 4 letters, and you simply enter them as they came. So FCCF will pop up on the screen, and you would type FCCF. And the second working memory task is the embedded task, where you simply tap or enter the key that is corresponding to the larger letters. So you would have F, C, or C, or F, and one of them will be larger than the other. And you simply enter that key. And to throw the wrench in this study, there were 2 conditions, and one was simple articulatory suppression, or verbally saying something out loud while completing a task, where you would repeat the same 3-digit number over and over while completing both tasks. And the second condition was using your working memory also. So this was the multitasking aspect of it, where you count down from a given 3-digit number while completing the task. And what was found was that reaction times were faster, reaction times were quicker when you were simply repeating the same 3-digit number over and over. So this is the suppression group on the graph. And you see that the reaction times are lower than those of the counting down condition. And the counting down condition is where you multitask similar processes. And this is demonstrated by your reaction time being slower, or you taking more time to complete the 2 tasks. And this relates to the students because when you are multitasking while doing homework or anything like that, and you take your attention off of the homework instead of focusing solely on the homework, it takes you a lot more time to complete the homework in comparison to you just sitting down and focusing on your one assignment and getting it done. Because you have to go back and you have to rethink about what you're doing and the question that's being asked, and your attention is diverted away. So it takes you longer to think the questions through in order to complete them. And that's why multitasking is not good for doing assignments and studying for tests that may come up. And Jessica will be presenting her studies on multitasking.
As college students, we often have busy schedules where we try to manage work, academic life, and our social life all together. And this usually leads us to multitask, but how does that affect us? So in a study by Bowman, Levine, Waite, and Gendron, participants participated in one of 3 conditions. They either had to send messages before they started reading a passage, send messages while they were reading a passage, or not send any messages at all. So as the participants did this study, the researchers concluded that the participants' reading comprehension was not affected, but only because they could read without a time constraint. If they did have a time constraint, the findings might have been slightly different. Based on the last study, it may seem like it's okay to multitask, but the study didn't reflect the time constraints they were under as students. So Pashler, Kong, and Ip conducted a similar study using audio files instead of written passages. They also simulated a time constraint by having a group of participants answer questions at the same time that they were listening to the audio. They found that this time constraint resulted in a decline in comprehension. This relates to us as students because we are often limited by time. Multitasking reduces the effectiveness of our study habits. So it may not be the best to watch TV or message your friends at the same time that you're studying. Instead, it would be better to divide your time between studying and leisure so you can put all your attention into studying and study effectively. And then when you're talking to your friends, you can enjoy your conversations, or you can watch TV shows with your full attention. Next, Austin will be talking to you about his findings.
The basis of this experiment by Busser and Peter was that they had all the people participating in the experiment split up into 3 groups. The group 1 completed 2 tasks, a Sudoku puzzle and a crossword puzzle in successive order, so they didn't multitask. Group 2 multitasked, except they had a set schedule. So they get 5 minutes on one of the puzzles, then 5 minutes on the next, and it keeps switching until the end of the experiment. And then group 3 also multitasked on the 2 puzzles, except that they just had a button there that they could hit to switch between the tasks as they please. And the basic findings of this are that people were more efficient in multitasking whenever they had a set schedule. But this still didn't mean that it was as efficient as not multitasking, as we've clearly demonstrated in the earlier experiments that we've discussed and the ones that we will continue to discuss. And it also addressed the common myth that women are better multitaskers than men by proving that both sexes are basically equal. This table can look rather intimidating at first, but if you just look at it, it's just things that students would do that would distract them while they're studying. And so the basis of this study by Calderwood, Ackerman, and Conklin is that they sat students down for 180 minutes for a laboratory session in which they were supposed to be studying. What they found is that students spent about 68.9% of the time, so close to 70% of the time that they were in there, distracted, whether it was like an active distraction, like playing a game on their phone or texting friends, or like a more inactive thing, like just listening to music in the background while they're studying. And this is rather alarming when you consider that all of the things we've talked about so far have demonstrated that multitasking is really not very good for you whenever you're studying. And what you'll notice is that almost all of the major distractions listed are on either your phone or they're internet based. So if you can get your phone out of the room maybe, or just try to limit the amount of time that you're on the internet studying, like try to study from paper or something like that, you probably limit the amount of time you're distracted and therefore study better. And Alan will be talking to you next.
So multitasking undermines efficiency. As humans, we strive for efficiency in every aspect of life, from creating a product with the least amount of resources to allocating vaccines for COVID-19. So learning is no different. You've heard the saying, work smarter, not harder. While multitasking may give you the illusion, a sense of accomplishing a lot, but the end results tend to be very inefficient. It actually takes extra time to shift mental processes every time you switch between two tasks. The process of multitasking is ran through the executive control system in the brain. It has two distinct stages: goal shifting, which keeps track of your current and future tasks, and rule activation, which enables the rules for selecting the current tasks and disabling the rules for selecting the prior task response. Even though your brain has the capability to switch between tasks, the optimal position for productivity starts to decline as the tasks become more complicated. So multitasking is a system that creates a switch cost conflict. Even just a few tenths of a second per switch can lead to a dysfunction in productivity. Inefficiency like this can be lethal for jobs such as pilots and air traffic controllers. So here are two methods to minimize multitasking. First is the strategic way. It is to examine how you go about completing your work throughout the week. After that, you should prioritize and schedule out the tasks you need to accomplish while using a system that works for you. This may include using the Pomodoro method, where you work in intervals and take short breaks. Also, it could be simply putting your phone in another room. This can go a long way. Another method is the holistic way. This is to look at it as a whole. Practicing meditation is a good way to increase your focus. Oftentimes, multitasking becomes a way of life in this fast-paced Western culture. The final take-home message is this quote: "When walking, walk. When eating, eat." One of the secrets to a fulfilling life is to be present in every moment you take part in. Thank you for your time and have a great day.